Chicago is a city of steel and glass, of bustling crowds and deep history. But beneath its streets and within its shadows, there are whispers. Stories of lives cut short, of souls that never found rest. In this video, we walk through 3 chilling tales, not on quiet country roads or ancient forests, but right here, where the living walk, work, and dream. Listen carefully. These are the whispers of the Windy City. Story 1. The Girl on Archer Avenue. Chicago's southwest roads, though paved and bright under city lights, have a stretch of forgotten history where asphalt meets old cemeteries and prairie grass. Between the Willowbrook Ballroom and the gates of Resurrection Cemetery, people still tell the story of a girl in a white party dress, hitchhiking late at night. People call her Resurrection Mary. It happened on a cool autumn evening. A young man named Michael was driving home after closing up at a small diner near Archer Avenue. The amber street lights flickered across the asphalt like dying stars. As he rounded a bend near the old cemetery, he saw her, standing alone at the roadside, thumb out, her dress shimmering even in the dim light. She looked so real, like someone who hadn't a care in the world. But her eyes were impossibly deep, almost sad. "Can you take me to the cemetery?" she asked, her voice soft, polite. Michael hesitated, but the road was quiet, and the night had a lonely feel to it. He nodded. She slid into the passenger seat without a sound. They drove in silence. Her gaze remained fixed on the dark fields beyond the windows. Then Michael asked her just once, "Why there?" She didn't answer immediately. Then, her voice barely a whisper, "I lost my way home." Just before he reached the cemetery gates, he turned to speak, and she was gone. No movement, no sliding door, just an empty seat and cold air. Shaken, he pulled over. Lights from a distant truck traced the outline of the cemetery walls, ancient stones like silent sentinels. That's when he felt it, a chill deeper than any he'd known, crawling up his spine. He never took another late-night drive on Archer Avenue again. Story 2. Bachelor's Grove Picnic. Chicago's southwest suburbs hide quiet corners that most people never notice. Places lost beneath the city's hum and hurried footsteps. One such place is Bachelor's Grove Cemetery, tucked into the woods near Midlothian Turnpike. A forgotten resting place where time seems to drift slower than anywhere else. One warm summer afternoon, a group of college friends, Anna, Louise, and May, decided to have a picnic near the old cemetery, drawn by its wild grass and shaded oak trees. They spread blankets on sun-dappled earth, laughed, shared sandwiches, and talked about school, dreams, and memories. The air smells sweet with the mingled scents of flowers and summer heat. After eating, they wandered between moss-covered stones and weathered markers, joking about how old some of the names must be. Anna, with her curiosity always ready, pulled aside a tangle of vines on a small tilted headstone. The name was nearly worn away, just part of it still legible. Elizabeth. 1892. As Anna brushed away more leaves, the air suddenly dropped, sharp and unexpected, like someone just opened a door to winter. For a moment, there was only silence, too quiet, as if Even the birds were holding their breath. Then Anna heard it. A voice, soft, distant, singing a lullaby. She froze. Louise and May looked at her, puzzled. But when they tipped their heads to listen, the sound stopped. The breeze rustled once, and nothing more. "You hearing that?" Anna whispered. Before either friend could answer, a sharp crack echoed, a twig snapping behind them. They turned, expecting an animal, but saw nothing, just shadows and empty air. That's when the footsteps began, slow at first, then deliberate, breaking through the quiet with a crunch of gravel and dry leaves. "Let's go," May said, her voice trembling. They turned to retreat back toward their picnic spot, but behind them, between the ancient stones, they saw her. A woman, pale and still, her dress caught in the fading sun. She didn't walk or run. She just stood, watching. Luis raised his voice. "Hey, are you okay?" But the figure didn't move. Then, just as suddenly as she appeared, she wasn't there at all. That night, much later, Anna looked at the photo she had taken of the picnic. There was one she didn't remember capturing. A picture of all three of them standing under the oak trees. But behind them, there she was. A woman in a dress from another century, watching, smiling. Story 3. The Alley Under Lincoln Park. Lincoln Park, sprawling lawns, laughter, families strolling beside the lake. Most Chicagoans know it as a place of daytime joy, but before it became green paths and manicured gardens, much of it was once a burial ground, where thousands were laid to rest long ago. Now, only a few markers remain to remind people of what once was. One late evening, siblings Josh and Ellie, visiting the city for the weekend, heard rumors from a local guide. If you walk deep enough into the park at night, you might find a long-forgotten alleyway, a narrow path that wound behind ancient oak trees and old stone remnants, where strange things had been seen and never explained. Curious and daring each other, they waited until the sun dipped behind the skyline, painting the lake a bruised purple. The park paths were quiet now, laughter and chatter replaced by distant honks and a breeze that whispered through branches. They found the path, an overgrown shaded cut between two old pines. The deeper they walked, the heavier the air became, like each breath was thicker than before. Leaves rustled, but with a weight that felt wrong. A presence. Suddenly, Ellie stopped cold. "Josh, I just heard something," she whispered. Before he could reply, there it was again. A footstep, not behind them, not ahead, but around them, like an invisible walker pacing among the trees. They paused, breath held, and then it came again. Only this time it wasn't a footstep. It was a voice, a whisper, repeating one word. "Josh." The hairs on their necks stood. Josh reached for his jacket, shaking, trying to shine his phone flashlight ahead. The beam cut through darkness, revealing a narrow, moss-covered stone wall, old and cracked with age. Leaning against it was something, or someone. Not fully solid, not fully shadow, just a shape. Slowly, the figure stepped forward, not with purpose, but with inevitability. revealing itself in brief flashes of moonlight. Its face wasn't clear, just a blur of soft features, like a reflection on rippling water. Yet its eyes, if they could be called that, seemed to look directly at them, not with curiosity, but recognition. Before Josh could call out, the figure reached toward them. Then its outline dissolved like smoke in a breeze. The siblings blinked, and suddenly they were alone. They turned to leave, but the path behind them had shifted. Trees that were once left were gone. Bushes blocked familiar exits. The route they came from dissolved into shadows. Panic surged. They ran, branches snagging clothes, roots tangling feet, until they burst into a clearing bathed in dim streetlight. But as they stared in disbelief, both heard it again. A voice barely above the rustle of leaves. Josh, Ellie. Not behind them, not in front of them, but inside. Chicago streets aren't just paved with concrete and stories of success. Below its surface, beneath its parks, and on its old roads, there are memories that refuse to fade. Sometimes, if you listen closely in the quiet hours, you'll hear their voices once more. Be careful where you wander in the windy city, for some whispers follow you home.